Hello everyone, welcome to Druv Online Academy. In this 30-day revision series, today we can revise the unit Communication. We can cover the topics meaning, types and characteristics of communication. What is communication? Communication is the means by which we share information, we share feelings and opinions with another person. It is a two-way process. We share, we send the message and we also receive the message. We listen to another person and receive the message that they communicate. So through communication, we build trust, we build relationships and we understand others better. We also help others to understand us better. So how does this communication process happen? We will see the elements of communication to understand this better. First, it starts with a sender. The sender is the one who initiates the communication or the conversation. So this sender has something in his or her mind. It could be something that they want to share. It could be an information or a feeling or an opinion, and that becomes the central content of the communication. What is being shared? That is the content. And through which channel do we communicate? That is the communication channel. Are we communicating through email or a phone call or a video call? There are different media for communication. So which medium are we using? That is the communication channel. Once it is communicated, the receiver who is in the other end, who listens to the message, who is trying to decode or understand the message, shares his or her feedback. Feedback is basically the receiver's response to the message the sender has sent. Has he understood the message? What is his or her interpretation for that message? All that is communicated through the feedback. So this feedback completes the cycle of communication. So this is how the communication process happens. But there are factors which will improve the quality of communication and there are factors which will reduce the quality of communication. So the factors which improve are known as facilitators and the factors which reduce the quality of communication are known as barriers. Now we can see some of the facilitators and barriers to the communication process. Okay, first we'll see facilitators of communication. There are factors from both the speaker side and the listener side which will help in improving the quality of communication. From the speaker side, the message has to be very clear and specific. It has to be delivered in a straightforward way. This helps in the communication process. The speaker should also understand the needs of the audience. What is their need? What is their level of understanding? And then the message has to be framed in such a way so that it suits the audience needs and expectations. Also, the speaker needs to choose an appropriate medium for communication to deliver the message. So this medium can be chosen by considering few things like the nature of the message and the preference of the audience. Some messages are conveyed better through visuals and graphs and images, whereas other messages are better conveyed through written documents or speeches or interactions. So the speaker has to consider the factors like who is the audience, what is the nature of message to be conveyed, what is the audience level of understanding, what are their needs and what are their preferences. So these factors need to be considered and then an appropriate medium has to be chosen for communication. So these are the factors from the speaker side. Now moving on to the listener side. So the listener has to be receptive and have an open mind towards another person's perspective. So just by lending ears without any judgment or without any preconceived notion, it helps a lot in effective understanding. So the receiver can understand the intended meaning and can deliver effective feedback. Now we can see barriers of communication. Barriers are factors which cut the chain of communication. It makes the cycle of communication incomplete. The emotional state and expectations of a receiver interferes with their listening ability. So in that case, a receiver might not be able to understand a message the way it was told. Sometimes this happens because of the receiver's emotions and expectations. Other times it might be because of the language differences. If the receiver is not comfortable with the language, that also affects their ability to listen and give feedback effectively. So the speaker needs to keep in mind that the use of language, the choice of words, all that has to be at the level of audience in a way that is easily understandable by the audience. If it does not match the level of audience, then it will become a barrier to the communication process. Now we can see the characteristics of communication. By now we can understand that it is a two-way process. It requires effort and attention from both the sender and receiver. Because of this nature, communication is also transactional because there is an interaction, there is an exchange happening between people. For this communication to be effective, the message has to be clear and accurate. There has to be a logical sequence, so that there is a proper flow in communication. The communicator has to be courteous and respectful towards the audience. All these characteristics mark an effective communication. All these features, all these qualities put together make the communication cycle more effective. Last topic for the day, types of communication. So these types can be classified on the basis of audience and on the basis of channel used for communication. Now we'll see audience based type. First is interpersonal, and then intrapersonal, then group and mass communication. Interpersonal communication is the type which happens between two individuals. This type of communication is mostly informal. And then intrapersonal communication. This happens within a person. This is about questioning, contemplating and reflecting on one's own self. So this happens within an individual. And then comes group communication. This type includes more than two individuals. The unique feature, the unique quality of group communication is that it has a goal to achieve. It has a purpose to fulfill. It can be to make a decision or to solve a problem or just share opinions. But it has a definite goal to achieve. Next, mass communication. So this type of communication happens when we are able to communicate to a large size of audience. The communication that happens through media, print media or digital media, all that comes under this category. Then, based on the channel, based on the medium, there are different types of communication such as verbal, non-verbal, written and visual. So verbal, the communication happens through use of words. It can be oral or written. Whereas non-verbal uses more of gestures, body language, facial expression and eye contact. It can be even related to the aspects of voice, the tone of the voice, the pitch or the intonation. So even these aspects related to voice come under non-verbal communication. Visual communication uses graphics, images, charts and photographs to communicate instead of using words. So these are the different types of communication based on the audience and channel. Now we can revise some previous year questions from communication unit. First question, which of the following is a characteristic of interpersonal communication? Okay, options, it is both focused and unfocused. Option B, it is not participation friendly. C, it's philosophical and D, it's metaphorical. Okay, so interpersonal communication, it is participation friendly and it is not philosophical. It is simple, straightforward. It does not include any symbols or metaphors as such, but it can be both focused and unfocused. So A is the right answer. Second question, in communication process, body language is associated with option A, culture, option B, audience, C, classroom situation, D, subject taught. Okay, body language is not associated with the context or content or the audience. It is associated with the culture. So A is the right option. Effective oral communication demands Okay. A. Self-confidence. B. Long pauses. C. Consistent practice. D. Business-like approach. E. Knowing the audience. And F. Aggressive questioning. Combination of these options are given. Okay, we'll see. For the oral communication to be effective, yes, self-confidence is required. A is there. Long pauses, that is not required. In fact, it distracts the audience. C. Consistent practice. Yes, that is also required. D. Business-like approach. E. Knowing the audience. F. Aggressive questioning. Knowing the audience is very important. E is also there. But business-like approach and aggressive questioning, that interferes with the connect that a speaker has with the audience. So these three, B, D and F, reduces the quality of communication, whereas A, C and E improves the quality of communication. It makes the oral communication effective. So A, C, E is the right option. Here we can look at the answer codes. D. D is the combination of A, C and E. So D is the right answer. Fourth question. A communication process can be considered complete when options A, okay, the sender transmits the message. B, the message enters the channel. C, the message leaves the channel. And D, the receiver understands the message. Okay. Options A, B and C are the steps in the communication process. It's halfway through, but that does not complete the cycle of communication. Only when the receiver understands the message, the cycle can be considered complete. So D is the right option. Last question. Identify the correct sequence of one-way process of communication from the following sequences. Okay, when it is one-way communication, only the sender sends the message and the receiver understands it. When the receiver sends a feedback to the sender, that makes the communication two-way. Okay, here the question is about one-way. So looking at the options, the right sequence is option B, where the sender encodes the message and sends it through a channel, and then the receiver tries to understand it, that is decoding. The receiver decodes the message. So B is the right option. With that, we come to an end of part 1, revision in communication. Hope you found this video helpful. Please do subscribe to Druv Online Academy and stay tuned to watch the rest of the videos in this 30-day revision series. Thank you.